We have Matthew Lewis, who played Neville Longbottom. Come on out. All right, and then we have Warwick Davis, who played Professor Flitwick and also Griphook. We also have Jason Isaacs joining us tonight. He played Lucious Malfoy. And then finally, Tom Felton, who portrayed Draco Malfoy. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here. So let's go ahead and kick it off with our first question.
Keep your phones up while I'm waiting on a picture of that. That looks ridiculous. There we go. Talk about yourself. It's been amazing. It's fantastic.
So,
Tom's offended, by the way. I don't know what you said.
No, I want to get my camera.
Oh,
That's right, it's on. Hello.
Right, so my question was, did any of you ever imagine that people would still be talking about the first film when it would be 16 years later?
No.
That's a very short answer.
No, it is amazing, isn't it, that there's such interest in anything related to Harry Potter still, you know, and I said, for us as actors, it is amazing that you shoot a piece of film that may have taken you a few weeks, a few months to do, and then you move on to the next job, but this is the kind of work that just lingers and stays with you, and it's a fantastic thing to have on your CV. But it's great, everywhere we go in the world, people know about Harry Potter, and it's fantastic the way that the whole wizarding world has been developed, you know, through the theme parks and now into Fantastic Beasts now, the studio tour in London. I mean, there's so many ways you can now experience Harry Potter, and yeah, certainly for me, it's a delight to have been involved in it in the small way that I was.
It's true, but at the heart of it is Joe's storytelling, and when they came out, they were a big sensation. There are a lot of things that come out and are a big sensation. I'm not sure that people will be watching, with respect to them, Twilight in 20 years' time or 30 years' time or something. They were huge, the films and the books. And there's something she tapped into. We spent a lot of time, you get asked questions by the press, why do you think that's successful? And you point to themes of friendship and loyalty and magic and all this stuff, but the fact is there's some other layer that none of us understand, because it touches people and makes people feel less alone, and it's helped lots of people through difficulty, and it's inspired people to read. You know, generations of people, adults and children, who've never read a book before, now devour books all the time because of Joe. And there's something almost magical between the words and between the chapter headings that touches people in a very profound way, and that's why people are still reading it, and that's why those great works of literature from 100 years ago are still being read. And if we knew exactly what it was, we'd just do it ourselves.
Have a good night.
If you had the chance to go back and play anyone else from the films, who would it be and why?
I'm too keen on Malfoy's. I like the idea of when they do the 4D scratch and sniff version in 20 years that I'll get to be my old man. That'd be fun. But no, yeah, I'm far too keen on the bad guys.
You guys had an awful lot of fun. You two in particular playing the bad guys. I think I'd like to switch allegiances. Be on your side for a change.
You're more than welcome, mate.
I love the wig. I'd like to play Hermione, I think. I auditioned for Gilderoy Lockhart, and I was a little bit disappointed in the room when Chris Columbus said, would you mind reading Malfoy? Did you read the whole script? And I said, yes. Would you mind reading Lucious Malfoy? And I went, oh, sure. And I went outside and I called my agent immediately, and I said, listen, I want me to go back in and read a different part. I don't want to do it. And he said, well, just go in and read it. You don't have to take the job. I said, I don't want to play another bad guy. I'm about to go off and do Captain Hook. I'm really not interested in doing it. He said, just go in. You know, you never know what will happen down the road. So I went in and I read Lucious Malfoy, and they phoned up and offered me a week later. And I said to my agent, tell them no, thanks very much. I appreciate it. And he said, well, take the weekend to think about it. And I said, it's just too similar, Captain Hook and another guy. And he gave me the weekend, and my nephews called, and then my godchildren called. And then every child I knew and their parents called me and told me that I had to do it. Not because they cared about my career, but because they wanted to visit the set, I think. And so I took the job, and thank God that I did. So.
Well, I was very happy with the 4 parts that I did play.
Mic drop.
He doesn't half harp on about it, I tell you.
Someone's got their hand up there. Do you need the bathroom or you know?
Can you edit out these awkward pauses? Do you all have editing facilities?
I quite enjoy it.
Tom, you said you didn't like, or you liked playing the bad guy. All of that work as an antagonist during those 10 years of your career, does that help you play other bad guys, if you will, in other movies that you've done? Are you able to draw on that experience?
Yeah, I learned so much over the years, not just about playing that kind of role, but you know, mostly from just watching the adults. I forget that we've really had some of the best training in the world, not consciously, just from being around these average actors. No, by being around them and seeing how they work, not just acting, but how they deal with stuff off the set, how they interact with the crew, how they levels of professionalism. Those are all things that I took for granted. It's only now that I work on other sets that I realise how good our training has been, really, thanks to the actors we had around us. The other side of it is that none of them are bad. That's the point, is that they're all good people. They are. They just don't quite know how to get to grips with it, and they're usually tortured, and they're usually, insecure, and they're usually the biggest bullied of the bunch. So it feels natural now to read a villainous character and to immediately sympathise with them and to find some reason to love them versus reasons to hate them. Thank you.
Hi guys, and thanks for being here tonight. So I have a question for young adults who I write for. What advice would you give your teen self looking back?
I'd just give him a hug, man. There's nothing you could have told that kid, really. Enjoy it. Take more photographs.
Okay.
Take more photos. Steal more props. They're worth a fortune now, wouldn't they? Yeah, not a lot really, to be honest with you. I think we savoured it as much as we could. And beautifully, blissfully unaware that what we were doing, really. Even halfway through doing the films, I still didn't particularly think many people were watching them. It really sort of shocked me to find out that people were watching them all around the world. So, yeah, there's a conglomerate of answers for you.
I'd probably say that to be more aware that nobody really knows what the hell they're doing. It's a thing that you don't appreciate as much when you're younger. You assume everyone who's more experienced or is older than you is so assured in what they're doing and so confident. But ultimately we're all just on this planet trying to figure out what the hell we're doing, all of us, in every job. And I think that if more young people appreciate that we're all just trying to make the best of it, all of us, we're all pretending to try and make the best of it, it would put a lot of people at ease. I think there's a lot of pressure heaped on young people these days. And I think a lot of it's largely unnecessary, because we're all just trying to make our way,
It's very good, that. I like that. I can't remember being a teenager. I don't know. I mean, it's about, I think, appreciating the moment, really. I think when you're a kid of that age, you always want to be older because you think it's better being an adult, because adults get to do more stuff. But I would say enjoy the time you're having now and enjoy every moment, every experience you're having now. Because being an adult is not as fun as it's made out to be. You end up with responsibilities and bills and all of those things. So, yeah, enjoy the moment.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I wanted to be older. The point is that anything you say to young adults is lost on them anyway, because they don't listen. Because you can't really hear it, you have to experience it. But if I could talk to my teen self, to me, I would say you're enough. Stop worrying that you're not like other people. I always felt like I missed, I'm sure it's why I ended up an actor, so I'm still curious about, I feel like I missed the class or the memo where other people were told how to be, or they felt like they belonged in their skin, and I never quite felt like I belonged in my skin. And you do, that a lot of people feel like that, and those people who do feel completely comfortable with their own skin, you're all right not being friendly with them. You're all right being uncomfortable and seeking all the time. And that's one of the reasons I think that Joe's books and the films and the stories have meant so much to so many people, because they thematically they tell you that. They tell you that there's room for everybody and that you have a place in the world. I don't know, I felt like no one else was faking and I was always faking until I found a way to get paid for it.
A question from Matt. In the UK, at least, it seems like every 5 minutes I go on Facebook, there's a story that seems to be amazed about how handsome you are now, and they can't quite get over it. Do those sorts of stories annoy you when they keep popping up, or is it just, it comes to the
He
territory?
writes most of them, I think.
Apologies for it.
You're reading my blog again. I just don't get it. Like, that's the only real thing. I mean, you're not wrong. It's kind of quite often on my Twitter and stuff. It's brought up. And hey, look, the internet can be a pretty grim, awful place. When people are writing nice things about you, don't complain. And I'm not going to sit here and suck. Oh God, it's such a nightmare. People say I'm good looking. I'm awful. Because it's not. It's just incredibly flattering. It's lovely. But I honestly, I don't really get it. I've never felt that way. I still feel that way. I definitely want to. I'd much rather focus on work and the professional side of stuff and just get by with that. But again, I honestly can't begrudge it at all. I'm not going to sit here and tell you my life is hell because of that. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I don't get it. Don't understand it.
I do. I'll show you a picture of what you looked like when you were 12. Versus the rippling mass of muscle that was in front of us.
Hey guys, you said Harry Potter is obviously such a global thing, but where's the most random or bizarre place you've been recognised specifically for Harry Potter?
Easy for you to say. I don't know.
Anywhere. I mean, there's literally nowhere on the planet you can go, whatever language they speak, whatever, how alien the culture is. Places they don't actually get films. I was in Cuba, obviously, they don't have Western films running in the cinemas there. There's nowhere you can go. And what's amazing is that it's essentially quite a parochial story about an English boarding school, and yet everywhere in the world they don't just like the stories, they think their stories about them. They feel like they're personal stories, which is what I was talking about before. The kind of alchemy of what you wrote is unrepeatable, I think, because there's people living in caves that feel like it's written about them.
Yeah, Japan was a real trip for me. The first time going there and having people waiting at the airport and banners and people running and cheering. It's hard to imagine, but when I was actually at school filming, Harry Potter wasn't cool. It certainly wasn't cool to be reading it in your lunch break. It was even less cool to have your hair dyed blonde and to be in the films. It wasn't really something that. I remember in America they never could get the idea that I was bullied for being in the films. And it's just like, oh, they were just jealous because it was so cool. It's like, no, it was not that way at all. So it took me a few years to actually realise how cool it is to be in the films. I was almost wanted to be back at school. I always wanted to be back at friends because I thought I wanted to go on the ski trips with all the cool kids. Well, I wasn't really allowed to do that because I was in these films.
Can I ask you two a question? Did you ever consider not doing the next films? Because you didn't sign up for 8 films. Did you ever seriously think about not coming back?
Yeah, I did, yeah. But it was, again, a similar sort of time for Tom. I mean, I didn't really get much stick at school. I was kind of alright with it, but it's that age of like 15, 16 where you just rebelling against most things. And I'd been acting since I was 5 at that point. And you were young when you started as well, weren't you? I just decided that I wanted to do something else because everyone was expecting me that this is what I'm going to do. I mean, I don't know how seriously I really took it, but at that moment in time, in my adolescent head, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. But I mean, I look back now, it's the most preposterous notion.
I remember saying I wasn't going to do it because I'm missing a ski trip. I'm missing 2 years of ski trips. I said, that's it. I want to go on a ski trip next year. And luckily my mum talked some sense into me. But I've been skiing since, don't worry. I have not had a deprived childhood by any standards. But yeah, again, it's just being a kid. Just because you couldn't go to the latest thing here or there. But that revelation for me when I've realised, and I'm still realising it, even today, I've had the most beautiful little girl come up to me whose life has been saved by these books, and to say that I'm a part of it is absurd, and it keeps getting more absurd. I came here as a kid 3 times in a row. At 9, 10 and 11 I managed to snag my way onto other friends' family's trips to here.
Well, just stowed away in a
Well, I basically just like befriended people that I knew were going to Universal, and loved it and lived for it. It was the highlight of my childhood, almost in a way. So to be here 15 years later as part of it is pretty mind blowing.
Hey guys, so nice to see you. Hello. So we're all fans of Harry Potter and we love it and it's amazing. So what are you guys fans of besides Harry Potter? It could be a sports team, it could be a movie, it could be a band. Like if you could say, like, I'm a fan of this, what would that be?
Changes daily, obviously, but passions, if you will, like guitars, music. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, I think, playing guitar. I'm a huge fan of that, if that's a thing.
I'm a tennis junkie. So one of the reasons I'm a little bit punch drunk today is I was awake all night watching Nadal play and get through to the final, and he's playing Federer on Sunday, which is a strange kind of Back to the Future moment for all of us. I'm hoping that Bill Clinton's coming back as president as well. That's what but I play it, I don't just watch every stroke of every major and minor tournament, I stand when I watch it. So I was standing till about 5:30 this morning from the television. Yeah.
Weirdo.
Yeah, I feel like it's disrespectful to sit
Why do
down.
you stand up? Just because?
I just kind of in the moment, I feel like I'm on court with them.
Do you do the...
Yeah.
You end up with that... with the red towel in between sets, rubbing himself down.
I'm a tennis junkie. I think it's the ultimate warrior sport. Apart from people who actually beat each other to death.
Well, I dare I say it within these walls, but I'm actually at heart a true Star Wars fan. Believe it or not. I only booed the tennis.
Because I don't play Wimbledon, you are in Star Wars.
No, but it's not because of that. It's because at 7 years old I went to see Star Wars and it had a huge impact on me as a 7-year-old child, having only seen Bambi in the cinema before that. So it was amazing, and just when I see the movies now, I just see them still as a fan, and I'm in awe of everything I see on screen, and I just love the escapism of it. You know?
Would you say that experience sort of helped you, become all the wonderful and weird characters that you've been over the years?
I guess. I mean, it certainly has an influence on you. As a youngster, it did. I was straight away intrigued by all of this, and then you get to be part of that when you're 11 years old. Then will start to shape you as a human being in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise been changed, I suppose. And so yeah, that's still one of my guilty pleasures is putting on a Star Wars movie when I can, and just enjoying it as somebody who likes watching movies.
Just watching your scenes.
Well, yeah, there is that
montage.
I'm a big sports buff, kind of right across the field of any sports. I've recently sort of Orlando Magic have taken me under their wing slightly. They've been really nice to me down there, so I've been going to a few games. My real passion is rugby league back in England. I love the Leeds Rhinos. But I think it's because I'm crap at sport, that's where it comes from. I've always been rubbish at PE at school. And I figured if I just immersed myself in it and knew loads about it, people would just naturally assume I was good at it without ever seeing it. So it's all the long con. Just being an actor, just pretending I'm good at it. But I do love sport, yeah. To watch, obviously, not play.
Well, you was the last person picked, when they're choosing teams and stuff.
Well, I'm not a huge soccer fan, and that's the main sport in England. Rugby league's quite a minority sport, no one really cares about it except me. So we always forced to play soccer, and I was always naff at it. So I just pretend that I loved it for years.
It was unfortunate at my school, our football kit was black and white, and I was always mistaken for the ball during the matches. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. It's true! No, but I did score a goal once, actually. But it was accidental. I happened to be just standing near the goal, like wondering if the ball was ever going to come anywhere near me, and it hit me and bounced into the goal. And people were like, yeah, and we won the match because of it.
The Leeds Rhinos got to a big final a couple of years ago, and I asked at Warwick to send a video message for the lads. And he told that little anecdote there. And they loved it so much, they actually said they won for you, Warwick. They went on to win the whole tournament by 2 points, and it was all for you.
I'm very proud of them.
Hi guys, I'm presenting from Brazil here. And they have a question from Tom, and they want to know how was to mix Harry Potter and the Flash.
Yes, it's wonderful. I mean, I'm not so much mixing it like a cocktail, but yes, it's great. I was saying earlier that it's quite marvellous that both franchises are best symbolised with a lightning bolt. It's quite ironic. It's wonderful. It's a very different world, to be honest with you. It's a very different kind of... well, nothing's even obviously going to be close to Harry Potter as far as that wizarding world, but... yeah, it's a new world for me. I'm not a Flash fan. I wasn't inherently a Flash fan.
New fans now.
Yeah, well, exactly. When it first came around, I said, I don't think this is particularly my cup of tea. And then I watched one episode, which turned into 34 in about 4 days. And that was enough for me. I said, I'm in. To me, it was like watching Spider-Man and Friends together. So it had all the personal relationship of Friends, which I think is really the core of the show and the meat on the bones. But with some fantastical elements, you know, some superhero stuff along the way to keep you entertained. So I'm having a great time, and yeah, the best is yet to come.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Obrigado.
Hi.
I'm waiting to say that. Get in!
For the Malfoy men, your fictional family fell in line behind Voldemort. Without delving into your personal politics, how do you think your characters would have reacted to our new American president?
Without delving into our personal I think Lucius would have been all for him. I think he'd put a little white pillowcase on his head and charged right up the hill behind him.
I know.
Hey guys, so I know today's like the first day of the celebration, but I wanted to know how the atmosphere has affected you guys.
Sorry, being here is
Everywhere. Like here in the park.
yes, I clearly missed the front end of that question. Do you want
What
to answer
atmosphere?
first?
What do you mean? The atmosphere?
Like how is it the crowd?
The crowd, the atmosphere of the event, really. How does it affect us as actors? Well, it's lovely. I mean, we feel very welcome here. It's lovely that everybody's here. Most of the people here are here for Harry Potter, and it's you know, for us as being part of that is. Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, there's always a great atmosphere within the park here anyway, because everyone's here to have a good time, so it's a lovely place to hang out, but even more so during celebration, because you know, more people are here for Harry Potter, I guess.
I'm very excited to walk down Hogsmeade. I'm all about just walking around, and you can literally feel it. I swear, the energy is palpable between people. And it's quite good, because I was there last time for about an hour, and no one clocked me at all, because everyone's just looking around. They're not looking at muggles dressed as muggles. So yeah. So weirdly, ironically, it's a great place for me to go and be incognito.
We did some rides, but not in Harry Potter World, so I'm desperately keen to get there because I was here a long time ago and there's been a whole bunch of new stuff that's opened since then. But also, people here, it's a celebration, literally. People love Harry Potter. It's not like when you bump into an actor in the street that you've seen in a show, you're like, when they come up and they're particularly nice to us, it's more that they're acknowledging that these stories were a huge part of their childhood. And you feel there's a kind of wave of positive energy and love, and kind of that's slightly lacking in the world, which is rather an insecure place at the moment. So it's nice to be somewhere that's a bubble of something so positive.
Always me. Yeah, it's just so lovely to come back into this world. The fans have always been exceptional to us, and they've stayed with the films for so long now, and they've never wavered in their loyalty. So to come and be a part of this celebration, it's brilliant. And I think there's something amazing about, you know, everyone talks about like Harry Potter or Star Wars or Star Trek, all these kind of geeky kind of fandoms. That we're all spread out around the world, because I'm a huge Trekkie, I'm such a loser, but I love it. And yet you've got this celebration where everyone can come from all over the world to this one weekend and all just share in this one celebration of this passion of theirs. And the fact that we get to experience that with them, and it's such a fun, friendly environment. And Tom's right, the energy that comes off that from everyone is tangible, it's brilliant, I love it.
Shut the front door, you're a Trekkie.
I know, man.
You never tell us that.
There's also there's families coming together, so quite a lot. We met today, lots of parents and kids and you go, who brought you here? And it's like either the parents are keener than the kids, or one, this event, but also Joe's stories, the films out of the box, bring a community together of people that might feel more alone, might be sitting, they don't have traditional pursuits, they're not great jocks or not great sports fans or whatever, and but they come together because of this mutual love, but also it brings families together. They're out having a great time together. Where I've got teenage kids, it's very hard to find anything to do where they just don't roll their eyes and shrug their shoulders and slam the door. So it's fantastic to see the kind of this community come together for this.
Yeah, it's lovely to see families celebrating the films here as well. You've got parents who were obviously fans of the films, who've had kids, even kids as young that they wouldn't have even been born when the last film came out. There was a little girl this morning with her mum, and her mum was dressed as who looked after the plants? What, Madam
Sprout?
Sprout, Professor Sprout. She was dressed as. And then her little girl was dressed as a mandrake in a flower pot. The little girl, I think, was really confused, why am I in a flower pot? But nonetheless, it looked great, and it's just terrific seeing generations now experience it.
And older people, there's a lot of people on mobility scooters and stuff,
Absolutely.
in their 80s and 90s and stuff. I'm not sure I can think of anything else that draws that many people together.
Yeah, it's nothing. There was a Dumbledore on a mobility scooter. It was fantastic. Yeah, it was great outfits. People just getting involved, and it's just some of the costumes. They're better than the ones we had. Some of them, aren't they?
So, having been a part of the franchise for as long as you have,
No, I'm going to stop you. Franchises sell burgers. Franchises, when someone makes a film with blow a bunch of stuff up, takes money to the cinema, they add another film on, another Roman numeral, they add The Rock or whatever the hell it is, until nobody buys tickets anymore. We were part of an amazing story that was broken into 8 parts.
and having been a part of that story and the evolving wizarding world as it's continuing to grow, what are your hopes and aspirations for that world as it continues to evolve?
You want Malfoy world, don't you?
Yeah, I think there should be a Malfoy Manor ride, certainly. Nothing, I just hope, my 11-year-old just read all the books again, and I just hope that the stories continue, people watch the films in whatever new, scratch and sniff virtual reality formats come out, and I just, what was amazing making them, considering that they are, yes, they're big commercial projects, is there wasn't a trace of cynicism from anybody involved that we ever met. On the set, even though that it's not like making an indie movie, we all do it for love and you're all piled in the back of a van, there's thousands of trailers and miles of sets and stuff. We were all as big of fans of the stories and the characters as any of you or any of the people who turn up this week or anybody anywhere queuing up at midnight for the book. And that, I think, has maintained across everything. The people who designed the park here, they use the designer from the film, Stuart, who everything comes from a place of authenticity and kind of reverence for the material. And so I just hope that continues and that cynicism doesn't creep in anyway.
Matt?
Matthew?
Well, Jason really hit the nail on the head when he talked about the stories being so universal. Little segue. I used that joke last year, don't worry about it. Yeah, but it's true. They are so universal, and the demographic is so wide and varied from all across the globe, from different genders and age groups, and I just hope that continues. When Jo was writing these stories, she put in so many relatable scenarios, lots of contrasts to things that have happened in the real world, in history, and are happening today. And I think that's so important, that through this story people can actually consider the world around them in real life. And I hope that we stay true to that we carry a message in there, of the friendships, the love, the good versus evil, these inherent messages that people around the world can all relate to, and I just hope that continues.
Today's Holocaust Memorial Day, and when I was playing Lucious, people sometimes ask about him as if there's a kind of cardboard villain on the screen. There's a very, very recognisable racist and eugenicist and supremacist there who's acting out of fear and thinking that the past was a better time, and scared of muggles and scared of the future because of his place in it. Feels like his place was some time ago when he was part of the super elite and could look down on the rest of the world. And you don't need to look too far without making cheap points to find many people, many politicians standing on those platforms. And those issues are never more relevant than today, that are dealt with in this kind of magical world of schoolboys. And that's one of the reasons why the books just work on so many layers.
that was going to be my question, actually. I was
Sorry.
going to ask you to
What
know.
I just said.
I was going to, what you just said. Yeah, just the themes you touched on of inclusion and tolerance, and whether you feel like these books and this story is more relevant than ever given the current political climate. And, you know, I saw a lot of Hermione signs at the Women's March and thought that it really showed how much the story still resonates for young people, people of all ages. So I wanted your thoughts on that.
The thing that I
Yeah.
said.
I'm not going to try and put it any better than you just did.
I think it's great that they're not going anywhere. I was certainly under the impression that it will die slowly. The passion and love for the films, it will slowly disintegrate. It has to, surely. But it's not. It's gone the opposite way. They're opening more of these theme parks up around the world. There's more and more excitement around it, and like you said, there's fans now that I'm meeting that weren't born when we started making the films, which is insane to me. It feels crazy. But it's a very powerful and strong message, and going back to the community of it as well, I think that's, without using the word religion, but it has that aspect where it can bring millions of people that feel slightly disenfranchised and disengaged with what's happening in the external world, and it can give them something that feels realer. It actually feels like something worth fighting for, or something worth getting together and campaigning for, and it's fun. People are like, when these fan groups get together, they're not doing it because it's a chore, they actually like really, really passionately enjoy it. And off the back of that, just so much positivity can happen, whether it's, you know, with charities or just, you know, feeling good. It's good, honest fun.
It's subliminal. The power of her writing and her stories and the kind of themes. If there was a message in it, no one would have read it and no one would have watched the films or seen it. The fact is that the message emerges through drama and how the characters face their dilemmas. Now, I was in a film with Peter Pan years ago, and when I go to meet fans, they very often come up, young women, and say, you know, I love the Harry Potter, but actually Peter Pan is one of my favourite films. And it's because we did Jane Barry's book. And Jane Barry's book, people mistake all the time things about a little boy. It's about a little girl who's a little girl who plays games with her brothers and plays the pirates in the bedroom and is told, tomorrow you're a woman. Tomorrow you have to have your own bedroom, and in those days it meant you need to get ready to be married and have children and lie with a man. And that's a terrifying thing for all young girls. I had teenage girls, and it really speaks to people. And the reason people are still fascinated with Peter Pan's story is because that is a timeless thing that women face all the time. The world expecting them to be women when they feel like little girls. But it's a theme that's very subliminal in the book, that kind of Freudian thing. And that's that in the same way Joe's books and stories and characters deal with incredibly powerful and pertinent issues in the modern world, but never in such a way that you feel like you're being preached to, because the story is paramount always.
Hi there. In the same topic, as you guys were preparing for these characters that everybody fell in love with, because each and every one of them is so unique. Usually in movies people love the hero, but in this movie it's each single character. So my question is the following. As actors, when you were developing your characters and bringing them to the screen, is there a quirk or a personal trait that you brought along? And my follow-up question is, do you fear, or what's your concern of, if any, that you will go on to history just on this character and not your whole career? Sorry if I got too deep.
Well, I mean, certainly personally as an actor, yeah, I think you have to find a little seed within yourself that you develop into the characters that you play. You know, so for me, yeah, even in Griphook, there's a little bit of me. There's the mischievous kind of part of me, but I suppose kind of you channel out into the character. But for other characters, you often find people within your life that influenced you. You know, there were teachers at my school that kind of Professor Flitwick has some of their traits, especially that kind of idea that he's the sort of teacher that you could approach as a student if you hadn't done your homework, and he'd probably say, yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it, bring it tomorrow. So there are little things that you grasp from the real world, from your past and from within you, that you certainly put into the characters. And yeah, if all I was remembered for as an actor is my work in Harry Potter, that's not such a bad thing at all. I would be more than happy. I'd be more than happy to be remembered, full stop. So yeah, terrific. However it is, I would gladly take it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there is. Naturally, nothing I did consciously. It wasn't like I. Actually, no. Now I say that, my gramps did teach me a couple of things. He taught me how to sneer, which was like smelling something but with one nostril. You know, sort of like, and it looks like you're disgusted by it. You know, if you look at someone with that. So I'm pretty sure I used that pretty early on somewhere. That and spitting your words, really pushing out the word Potter. That was something that I remember thinking like, well, that sounds good. Well, that sounds mean. Keep doing that. And annoyingly, people still ask me to the bloody day to say. I'm kidding.
I mean, when I was a kid, like, Neville and I had so many similarities. I found sort of finding the character of Neville a lot easier than you'd think now that I sit here before you. No, I was just a kind of short, chubby kid who was crap at sport. I'm aware of that already. And yeah, I didn't really have a whole lot going for me. And as Neville grew throughout the books, so did I. You know, I was working with all these guys every single day, which inspires you to be better, both professionally and also, you know, they're all great people outside of work as well. They're all really nice, charming, humble people, and that is also inspiring. And so you talk about not being in school or whatever, but throughout the whole period I got as much education as I could ever need in how to be decent at work and be a good person. And so my evolution as Matthew Lewis really coincided very much with Neville. So I think there's a large part of me in that character, without a shadow of a doubt. But like with Neville, we don't know where, after he'd reached his peak and destroyed the Horcrux, where he went on to after that in his careers and stuff. We don't know how successful he was as a teacher and whatnot. So I kind of feel I can take a bit of that into my further career as well. It's kind of the great unknown. I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but that's terribly exciting. I'm kind of with Warwick that if that's what I'm remembered for, then I can think of a lot worse things. I'm fortunate I'm still working. People keep giving me jobs. Don't know why, but they do. So that's all I can hope for. Yeah.
Well, I was the opposite of everybody here. I was terrified because of just being bland and forgettable around all these incredible actors, kind of, you know, the royal family of British actors, really. So, and I did everything schematic I could do to try and do something. I asked for the wig, that wasn't part of the original, and the costume, the robes. They wanted me in a suit with ordinary hair. I tried to come up with a voice, because Alan Rickman was already in the first one. Alan Rickman, the greatest screen villain, certainly of our age. And I knew he was in it, and I knew how magnificent he was, so I had to come up with a voice I thought that was, you know, that sounded like fingernails on a blackboard. I wanted a voice that irritated you within one syllable, and I worked harder. It was a combination of a teacher from drama school who would constantly whisper in this very high voice, "You amount to nothing, Isaacs, you'll never work. Nobody likes you, none of your peers like you." And then this British art critic, Brian Saul. So I did the most tortuous voice I could think of, and the first director, Chris Columbus, used to come up to me and go, "Yeah, okay, so we had that take? Can we do one more?" And when it's great, but could we pull back on the voice like 80–90%? Sure. And I asked for the cane. I mean, I wanted props, wig, funny voice, anything I could do to try and make any impact in the few minutes on screen, because I was surrounded by the greatest actors I've ever seen. So I brought, I hope, nothing of myself to it. I don't know. You don't even tell me if you know the answer to that one. I think there's nothing of me and Lucious. Ask my wife. Oh, if I'm only remembered for that, my God, you know. Frankly, who cares if we're remembered? We're gone anyway. I try and enjoy the day. I try and enjoy the experience. I try and enjoy this. I love going to work and enjoy it because, you know, I just came back from the Sundance Festival. I've been to the Sundance Festival 6 times with 7 films. 2 of them came out and closed in a week. But I loved doing the films and I loved going to the festival. So I never work anymore, not for many, many years, for the end result. I never care really about the future. The process that we do, the stuff that we love doing, is not this. It's not the after effect. It's the actual job itself. It's walking in other people's shoes and minds and hearts. Sometimes people forget that about actors. When friends said we would speak to my daughter, speak to my son, they want to be an actor or an actress, and I ask them why, and it's so often to do with what they see of actors, which is red carpets or signing things, but what we actually do is none of this stuff you're looking at. It's we try and see what it's like walking with someone else's soul inside you, and that is an exciting and exhilarating thing to do. So I don't really care if anyone even sees the things that I do, as long as I can keep earning a living and getting a chance to do it again.
All right, we're almost out of time, but we have time for one more question. Go ahead.
Hello. What was the most difficult scene that you had to film during the series? Physical or mental?
Anybody? Bueller?
Most difficult. Nothing jumps to my mind, honestly, as far as being not difficult, as far as it being like a pain or something that was difficult to do. I mentioned earlier that I was never good when they did the Great Hall eating scenes, because the place just did not particularly smell well. I just be eating this food over and over and over again. So a bit of a dicky tummy sometimes. But no, if that's really the height of the worst thing I had to face in my 10 years at Hogwarts, I'd say I got off pretty light.
I mean, it's tricky. Difficulty could mean either like the scene was challenging from a performance standpoint, but I think most of the things that you remember being difficult were things that were physically quite hard. I mean, you know, Jason kind of touched on it. You know, you think of an actor's life as being quite glamorous with the red carpets, premieres, and all this sort of thing, but it is about the kind of the hard work, and I don't want to sound like I'm moaning, but it is often quite challenging physically to do the work that we do. Yeah.
Hey, for you especially, you spend 3 hours every morning getting there.
Well, yeah, some very, very heavy makeups and things. But for example, if you've got wet in a scene, you know, for example, like we did in Deathly Hallows Part 2, we went through the Enchanted Waterfall. Then for the scenes that go beyond that in time, you then have to still be wet. So there's nothing worse than walking on a set in the morning with your makeup on in dry clothes, and the first thing to do is start spraying you down with a Hudson sprayer ready for the take. So that's the kind of thing, and then you know for the entire duration of that day doing this scene, they're going to do that before every take, re-wet you, just as you think, oh, I'm feeling a bit warmer now, I'm drying on. So that's, you know, and I don't think as an audience you kind of appreciate that when you watch the movies, but yeah, there was nothing particularly difficult about making them, and you know, there's always this huge amount of support that you get on a film like Potter. You know, there's lots of people there to make sure that you can do your best on screen. You know, that's why they're there. So loads of people in wardrobe, makeup, you know, there's the runners, people helping you get your lunch, and all of this sort of thing that goes on to make sure the moment you have on screen is the best that you can make it. So yeah, it's not just about us there. There's a huge amount of people that go together to put us there and help us do what we do.
I'm kind of in agreement, really. There wasn't a whole lot that I can say was difficult. The support network that we had on the set and the crew that we had that worked with us made everything actually seem very effortless. I guess it'd just be like Tom's, like something just really silly, like being 15 years old in the middle of puberty, having to wear a fat suit. Just anything like that, and there's girls around, I'm like, oh man, I put this fat suit on every day. No one knows I'm wearing this damn thing, they all just think I'm fat. And just stupid stuff like that when I look back now as an actor, I go, why did you even ever complain about that? Like, you're the luckiest man alive. So yeah, really nothing that difficult.
I got hurt a couple of times, just because I get over keen and it's fun, like Tom was saying, let's do stunts. So when I get blasted back by Dobby, a stuntman did that big long pull, and I just had to do the last. They made some rubber cobblestones for me and just to close up my head. All I had to do was that, the last bit, but I wanted to just be like a team player, so I knocked myself out. And my kids came to visit the set when Dobby cuts the chandelier and rescues them in Malfoy Manor. And so without having told anyone, I just dived into the fireplace because I thought it would look good. But generally they prepare those things for weeks with like rubber, coal and rubber, and it was just all steel and metal, and it really hurt. But I didn't want to say it in front of my kids, I just don't think my back hurt. But the harder thing sometimes was waiting so long to do your bit, and you had just a little bit, and you knew it was going to be in the film, it was probably an important moment, but you waited so long, and you're only going to get, you know, it's a big film, but you know, they're not going to spend days shooting your little section. So I remember, for instance, the scene at the beginning of Deathly Hallows where Voldemort goes around the table, And there's a lot of fabulous, very tense stuff where Voldemort's testing whether Snape, is telling the truth about when they're moving Harry Potter, and all this stuff. And it gets to my little bit, and essentially, just one moment with Voldemort where he takes my wand and snaps it. And it's the hoping that you can do your very best, truthful, interesting, dynamic acting in the moments that you've got, because you've waited 2 weeks to do it. That's what is stressful quite often, because all around you are actors on their top game. It's like, sprinters waiting to run that 9.5 seconds. And you just got to be ready. You can't be half sleepy from the trailer or have a cold, or you can't really warm up at it. Those things are a little bit stressful, but they're the fun stress. They're one of the reasons we do the job. There is a big difference. We've all worked on indie movies. One of the many great things about doing Harry Potter is that they knew that there was an audience for it. They knew by the time we got beyond the first film that people loved it. They probably knew they were going to make all of them. And so there was the space and the time and the confidence to let everybody get it right and create an atmosphere of play where everybody felt they could do their best work. Whereas very often there's people looking at their watch and looking at the clock and thinking, we've got to get home by 5 o'clock and maybe no one's going to buy a ticket. And, I don't know if we cast the right person and all that stuff. So really, it was all unlike anything I've ever done before or since. It was like being on a hovercraft, and there was a cushion of confidence and the love of the audience while you're making it.
What a lovely metaphor there.
Thanks very much.
Analogy. I don't know.
Can I see your pose before we go, please? Can I just get that same shot back that we had earlier? Oh yeah, it's really harrowing. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our Q&A. So thank you so much to our wonderful panel. All right, well, thank you so much for your questions. Awesome panel, I know. They were fantastic.